started. So the purpose of this meeting is to discuss the cutting of the 0.2 release. I suggest let's go over the issues first. Does that sound okay?
Yeah, that sounds okay.
Okay, so let me share my screen and I'll pull up. All right, so let's filter down to 0.2 issues. We have 4 issues left in the milestone. First up is this adding V major. I think there was some discussion on this. It sounds like this is not something we're ready to go to with 0.2. We want to put this off. Is that correct, or?
Sort of. I think like if we say that after 0.2 we'll try very cautious. We'll be very cautious on like breaking changes.
Mm-hmm.
Then I definitely want that to be in, because that itself is a breaking change.
Yeah.
Because that changed the package name of the protobuf file, which I think everything depends on.
Mm-hmm.
So it'd be nice to get that into 0.2.
Okay.
That's my perspective. Otherwise, we have another breaking change in 0.3 guaranteed.
Okay.
I think James has a PR out. I think in general, people are on the same page on that one. So if you go to pull request, I think, yeah, so this one.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it would be nice. You can take a look at this one. It's a simple, small change. I think the only thing that that people has comments on is whether we should have a version, the protobuf file as well. Like CSI v1.proto, CSI v2.proto. I like that idea. The reason is because I do want to, in the future, let's say we have v1 and v2, I don't want to download like 2 versions of the package and build like 2 versions of the package. I wish like everything is inside the same repo. I just need to pull once. So that's the reason like I suggest having a separate protobuf file for different versions.
So I think the other issue with this I've raised, I didn't actually have a chance to circle back and see if it had been resolved in any way, but I had a concern with get supported versions being folded into this versioning structure. So in other words, if you have a get supported versions endpoint, you would like to have that outside of the scope of versioning, so that you don't have to find out that version 1 is not supported by trying to call v1 get supported versions and having that end up dead, right?
Yeah, I like that comment. Actually, I think we should do that. Yeah, just
the only problem is, in order to do that, we need to separate it out into its own service, right? Because the identity service has a bunch of other stuff in it that is version specific.
Can we make a call and say that the controller and node services will be versioned, but the identity service is not?
We just add the probe to identity service, so yeah. I'm not sure.
But I mean, like post 1.0, realistically, how much change do we expect the identity service to have?
The identity service is where all the plugin capability is, right? Is it not?
I think that's it. Yeah.
So I guess I feel like it's a bit heavy to be calling it permanent and unchangeable.
Yeah.
I mean, we should have a version service. That sounds like a much better solution, and have a single get supported version in that service, and then make it unversioned, and have a separate protobuf file for that one.
So, like, if I'm trying to discover a new, plugin that I don't know anything about, there's 3 pieces of information I want to know. One is, what are you? Like, your CSI. Okay, what type of CSI driver are you? I'm a GC PD CSI driver, and what version of CSI do you support? Those are the 3 pieces of information I care about. If we can push those 3 into some sort of call, that would be nice. If it's completely independent of the identity service, that's fine with me. But it sounds like we're kind of reinventing the identity service in a slightly different place and making it not version.
Yeah, a little bit. So, I mean, I guess there is kind of, have we changed get plugin? Like, maybe
Get
it's
plug-
fine.
Has not really changed. I think the only thing that changes in it is the response.
Right. And it moved, right?
Yeah, it moved in this last version, but like moving forward, it shouldn't really move or change very much.
Well, I think it's hard to predict, right? So I think it will be safe to just do that for one single call, which is get supported version. Otherwise, like it's really hard to predict whether you're going to do any like breaking change in the identity service or like adding like change the protobuf, for example. That, for example, change the response type or adding new fields or like removing a new fields, things like this.
And I would expect capabilities would change between V1 and V2 more than anything else.
Yeah.
Well, capabilities themselves will change, but that doesn't require breaking change to the API.
What about removing a capability, for example?
Yeah.
Or like we completely change the way that we describe capability, which is, I think it's very likely.
Yeah,
so-
yeah. I think that's a fair point.
So then the question is, do we want to get all those changes in now, or can it wait until post 0.2?
I think
Yeah.
it's a question of like, are we okay making another breaking change post 0.2? Because this is a breaking change, right?
Yeah.
So if we want to get all the breaking changes in, then we ought to try to kind
I
of.
think we should wait one more release. I really want 0.2 and 0 to 0.3 to be the one where we try to not break things. But let's not shackle ourselves to a version.
But if we don't do this now, then we're already losing that battle. Right? We've given up on that.
Okay, it'll be like the one breaking change that we're going to allow. It'll be like the expected one. It'll be the one that we. Everything else we should try to get maintain backwards compatibility. And then for 0.3, we'll have a little bit more thought on what we want this structure to look like before we commit to it 100%. I'm afraid that if we try to rush this out the door for 0.2, that it might not quite be what we want it to be. And then trying to maintain backwards compatibility with versioning scheme is kind of painful.
Yeah, but I think one concern I have, is right now, let's say we cut 0.2 and then and then we do another breaking change in 0.3 at the plugin live, like plugin writers live will be like terrible, right? They have to support 3 versions. Each version is not compatible with each other. I don't know if that's even possible. And then my question is, why the rush for 0.2? Like, can we wait until those breaking changes are addressed before we cut 0.2?
So the push from my side is basically just to make sure that we get it into Kubernetes for the beta release. Right now, Kubernetes is kind of pointing ahead, which we could do for the release, but it's bad because if we actually cut 0.2 and then there's changes between that and the actual 0.2, it becomes a pain in the butt. So if we can get a 0.2 release fixed and say this is a 0.2 version of CSI, here's what it supports, here's, it's going to ship with Kubernetes, that allows us to fix to something.
Yeah, I think I understand that part. I think like first of all, I think like CSI release cycle should not be tied to any CO's release cycle.
That's completely fair.
Yeah, I mean moving forward, I think it's also like if we say we cut 0.2 right now, like for example, Mesos release is going to be like 3 months out from now, and during that time, and Mesos only supports 0.1 and Kubernetes supports 0.2. I don't know like what it's going to do. So it's going to be in an unfortunate situation, I think. I think like in moving forward, we should definitely not tie the release cycle of the CO to CSI release cycle. But I won't be in the way on this version if you guys want to cut it. But I think like moving forward, we should not avoid doing that.
I agree.
I guess just trying to be realistic. Like, if we're feeling or hoping that this is going to be the release of Kubernetes, where a significant number of plugin authors actually step up and start trying to implement stuff, then it does kind of make sense to try to cut a version for that. But I would like us to be able to take a beat and sort out this issue.
Yeah, that's what I want to. Is like I don't want to jam this in just yet.
Yeah, I'm just afraid that if people go and like, to Gene's point, if we keep making breaking changes to the API while people are actually trying to use it in meaningful ways,
Yeah.
then we're going to be just another one of those open source vendors that screws with people and doesn't respect backward compatibility, right? We've all been on the receiving end of that. It doesn't feel real great. I think that's a lot of the frustration that Andrew was starting to voice around some of those things was because he'd already written a whole bunch of code. So I don't know what that means exactly, but I feel like we ought to hold up 0.2 for this, and we ought to take a minute to get this right. And I'm willing to review whatever comes in as quickly as possible in order to try to make sure we've got it right if we want to try to do it quickly, but I feel like we should fix it.
Yeah, I agree. I don't feel like there's a huge need to rush Kubernetes necessarily either. Other than it's just going to be more of a writing for it, which is pretty metal. If it's not ready, it's not ready.
Sorry, Brian, I'm having difficulty hearing you. There's some background noise. Could you repeat the last part again?
Basically, I'm not. I understand that we want to get people writing plugins for it. Also, if it's not ready, it's not. And so I would definitely take a minute to make sure we've got our backwards compatibility right here, and this is part of that. So.
Yeah, that's fair. So it sounds like the consensus is that we want to hold the release for this issue to get in.
Yeah, I think like let's do a cut once we have all the things that we think it's going to break things in before we're doing the cut. I think this one is a breaking change for sure. I think like, for example, things like topology, no staging plugin. I mean, we probably need to commit that, no staging step thing. I think it got approval from like almost all the vendors. We should just merge that. And this one, definitely this one, we should get that into 0.2 so that we don't break in 0.3.
Yeah, and so the probe is the other one that was outstanding. I think the PR looked good to me. There was some minor feedback, which I believe Julian is going to address.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, I think that PR is almost ready. I think it looks good to me too.
So that one looks like it's almost done. Mount device got approved today. Topology, I'm okay punting 0.2 because I think it's an additive change, not a. It shouldn't break backwards compatibility for anything.
Yeah, agreed.
Okay. So we can go ahead and punt that to post 0.2. Since the second two are already, number 2 and 3 are essentially complete, that just leaves us with the first issue. I want to kind of get a feel for when we can make this realistically happen. The timeline that I am looking at from the Kubernetes side of things is this Monday is going to be code freeze for Kubernetes. We are pointing at a floating head version of CSI right now, which means it's kind of 0.2. If this change goes in, then we need to make the relevant changes on the Kubernetes side. Getting those in post code freeze is going to become problematic. And if we continue to, if we go out basically pointing to that semi version of head, but don't have this versioning semantic in there, then, we've kind of, like, Kubernetes doesn't support official 0.2, and we're in a funky place. So I want to make sure we don't get into that situation either.
I'm wondering, like, can you guys support 0.1 still, or like it's not possible to
No.
still, okay.
Yeah, it's like we have a bunch of changes because we've been picking up changes from head as we go. And it would be difficult for us to revert back to 0.1 right now.
Okay, I think, like, besides those changes that still haven't resolved, like, what's the change that go into 0.2, the renaming stuff, and what else?
It was the renaming stuff. I think that was the only big major change that we had to make a change for. I think that was it, honestly.
Yeah, actually, like, is there a way to not, like, revert the tag name change so that it's on wire still compatible even if we change the name? I'm not sure if we do any like drastic breaking changes there. Yeah, I don't remember in details. Like, I'm just wondering, like, not changing the tag name, can that make it like 0.1 compatible?
What do you mean not changing the tag name?
For example, I think, like, some of the PR that we merged for changing names, I think we also alter some of the tag names, right? Sorry, the tag numbers in the protobuf.
Oh, yeah.
I'm wondering if we don't change that, would that be possible to make like 0.1 compatible? Because I think, like, just changing the name in protobuf doesn't make the wire incompatible.
That is a good question. I don't know. Let me see what else was in that change. It wasn't this one.
Oh yeah, I think we changed the get no ID. Yeah, I think that's probably incompatible. Okay.
182. Yeah, I think it was get node ID. Yeah, so that was changing the whole RPC name.
Changing types on those fields. Okay, so that's probably not compatible neither.
And then int6 unsigned int to int.
Okay. Yeah, I just feel like it's kind of a little funky that if 0.2 is just about those renamings, that's a little weird. I think, like, if we say like 0.2, make all these changes that we think is necessary and it's breaking, and after that we don't break, that makes sense to me. But if just like a bunch of renamings, probably doesn't make sense. I think
that's pretty much the idea, is like, let's get the spec into a place where we don't have to make these kinds of breaking changes anymore. So
right. Yeah, I think that's the purpose.
Yeah. And since that's already
Okay, so I think what you say is like the time, like, even if we can get the PR merged today or tomorrow or like Thursday, it will be too late for you guys to adapt to those changes.
I think as long as 0.2 is cut by end of day Friday, we're okay, because we're going to be able to pick it up on Monday. But any further than that, then it becomes a challenge for us.
So sounds like we just need to get those PR merged this week. And then we don't have to have an official release. You can still point to head, but after that, we don't expect like major changes, even if like the vote has to take 72 hours, but you can just speculatively assume that vote will pass and just do.
Yeah, that would be okay with us. That would be okay. So then what we could do is basically declare. Well, could we do that tomorrow morning? So declare tomorrow morning that we're going to cut 0.2, and in the meantime work on this issue. And then
I think it's pretty late. I think like for the 2 PRs, I think like we can merge them today.
Sorry, you have a lot of background noise, G. Could you repeat that?
No, I'm just saying, like, we have 2 PRs pending that need discussions. I don't think we can merge that today.
There's only one PR that needs discussion, right? The other 2 are okay, and the 4th one is going to be kicked out.
Yeah, but you need like comments from Julian. I think James is like, it's already like 5 p.m. for him, 4:30 for him.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
He's in East Coast.
Well,
so
yeah, no, I don't want to. What I'm saying is we preemptively declare 0.2 tomorrow morning, but we work on the issue and get it resolved in the remaining 3 days before end of day Friday.
That sounds pretty shady to me. Like if you're asking people to approve something that you haven't done yet.
Yeah.
Effectively, you're not giving them 72 hours to review it. you're giving them whatever time you have left. So I guess I'm with you on this. Let's do this as fast as we can, and I'm happy to do a careful review of this as soon as it's like ready again.
Yeah.
But let's try to follow the procedure we laid out.
The alternate, it sounds like, is we're going to work on this as fast as we can and hopefully get it merged by end of day Friday. Then on Monday, Kubernetes can pick up the latest version from head, which would have this change. We basically go to code freeze with that, and then we can declare 0.2 sometime after that, and then once we do that, then the delta from the Kubernetes head shouldn't be very big, so we should be okay. That seems reasonable.
Well, ideally we're like ready to roll. And all you're doing is changing a SHA to a label, right? And you're not actually picking up a different head.
Yeah, so we'll that will work for us as long as this thing goes in by EOD Friday. So okay, would you guys be on board in helping that get done?
Yeah, I think that sounds fair to me.
Okay. All right, cool. Then I will help this second two PRs. So I'll go ahead and merge the third one since that one's done. Number 2, I think has a couple of comments, but it's almost there. And then the first one we'll work on over the rest of the week and hopefully get that merged by end of day Friday. Fourth one we'll punt to 0.3. And then at some point next week, we can decide if we declare 0.2 and then go through that process. All right.
Yeah, that sounds good to me. Thanks.
Thanks, everyone. That's awesome. Thank you for being flexible here.
All right. See you guys.
All right. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.